I said, are you ready? Then I will hand you over to your stage team and you get to make your choice very shortly.
Hello, hello. Hey, welcome to the Boys Zone reunion. As you can see, we've let ourselves go a bit. Alright, thank you very much for coming to Play Expo. My name's Paul Drury. I'm ably assisted by Martin Cowell over there, and we both scribble for Retro Gamer. Thank you for coming to our mass debate. Even our jokes are retro. Okay, thank you very much for coming. The more observant of you will realise that this event was supposed to happen 2 years ago, but unfortunately due to technical issues, I understand it was a wobbly RAM pack, or maybe a 1541 disk drive overheated. Technical issues anyway, means that we're actually 2 years late for this event, but of course if you're used to waiting for Commodore 64 Vs Speccy games to load, 2 years won't seem very long at all. It's just about how long it takes the Spectrum to load the Hobbit. Okay, so anyway, this is how it's going. Okay, City or United? Oasis or Blur? Santa or Satan? These questions, these rivalries are nothing compared with the enduring question of which is better, the Spectrum or the Commodore 64. Today we're going to try and answer that question with the help of 4 very knowledgeable people. On my left, advocating in the rainbow corner in fact, we have John Gibson, who made Spectrum games for Imagine, Denton Designs, included Zoo, Gift from the Gods, and a strategy war game. Is it Stonkers? It is Stonkers, okay. Also advocating for the Spectrum is Ste Pickford, graphics wizard who often made games with his brother John. He's sprinkled his pixelated fairy dust over such great games as Zug, 180 and, how do I pronounce that? Is it Amarone? No one knows how you pronounce Amarone. We're going for that, okay? Right. In the beige corner, we have Andy Walker. Andy stopped programming games for arcade machines, but moved on to the Commodore 64 and set up Tasca that produced such distinctive titles as Bozo's Night Out, Super Pipeline and Jamming. And next to Andy we have Jeff Minter, the hairy honcho of Lamasoft, who produced such Commodore 64 classics as Adventure in Meaning Camels and Sheep in Space. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please give us a round of applause for our expert witnesses. Thank you very much. Okay, this is how it's going to go. Each of the expert witnesses have chosen one game that they're most proud of, that they wrote, and also a game that they feel shows off their favoured micro. And my friend Martin over there will have those playing in the background. I'm going to ask them a few questions about how they program games for their particular machine. Then we're going to open it up to you lot. You can either ask questions to one of the panel, all of the panel, or we'll call this one what you've done. Feel free to rant in support of your chosen machine. And then at the end, we get a vote to decide which micro is best, and that's why you should have voting cards. And I'm sure that these arguments will definitely sway your vote. You definitely haven't made up your mind already, have you? Definitely not. No, you're very open-minded. Right. Okay. So I'm actually going to start. Sit down. I'm actually going to start now with John Gibson. John, you were rather late to the programming party, and I want to know why was a 30-something bloke who was having fun fixing ceilings decided to swap all that and start making games for simpler machines?
I discovered computer programming, and that was it. Once you discover computer programming, you don't want to do anything else.
Tell us about, you actually started at Imagine. Tell us about that first approach when you arrived at Imagine that day.
Well, I went for a job interview. Dave Wilson said, can you write a 16-pound machine code in a month? And I said, I don't know, but I'll give it a whirl, just that's how you got the job.
I also still understand that Imagine that you would affectionately call Grandad.
Yeah.
Now, was that affectionate, or was these cheeky lads that needed to click round the ear?
Well, because I was like 15 years old, so I wasn't very that.
Sorry, yeah, he's working. Okay, right. I say now, you're perhaps best known for working on one of the Spectrum mega games, Bandersnatch. And apparently your bosses at Imagine said that they had to have this add-on because they'd already pushed the Spectrum as far as it would go. Was that true, or was that bollocks?
No, it was a 250k ROM attachment, just for graphics. And the artist still had graphics up in about 2 days.
But there'll be what, 2 games?
Oh yeah, just once I knew they had all that memory, I just went bananas, didn't I?
See, that's graphic artist for you, no sense of economy there. Okay, now, how far did you actually get with Bandersnatch? Of course, Imagine crashed before it came out. How far did you get?
Not very far, really. I reckon we got to a point where we had to stop it and start all over again.
The game that you have chosen is Gift from the Gods, which Denton Design released, Ocean, I think. Denton Design did it, Ocean released it in 1984.
Yeah.
I just wondered how much of Bandersnatch was in this game.
Well, it's the Bandersnatch engine, really.
Really?
It's Bandersnatch, but with a different... I mean, this was based on a Greek mythology. Bandersnatch was a science fiction thing. But apart from that, they always said anything.
I understand you left the Imagine offices with literally the disc drive tucked under your arm, is that right?
Yeah.
Did the bailiffs ever catch up with you, John?
Sorry?
Did the bailiffs ever catch up with you, John?
Not with the official receiver asked me to visit his office and said, have you got any disc or hard drive?
Tell us a little bit about Gift the Gods. It's the game that you've chosen to represent the Spectrum. Why are you particularly proud of this game?
Well, I suppose I feel like it's one of my greatest achievements, and it looks a lot like an ultimate game.
Well, that's interesting. It says a lot like an ultimate game, because the game you've chosen to represent the Spectrum created by someone else is indeed Night Law. Now, a lot of people remember the first time they saw Night Law in the same way that some people remember where they were when Kennedy was shot. But for our generation, this is our Kennedy moment, the first time you saw Night Law. So, John, tell us about your reaction the first time you saw Night Law.
It was the first isometric game I'd seen, and I've seen that well. It was almost like pseudo 3D. I tried to do something like that in Zoom, playing games already, but it didn't quite work. I had to draw palm trees, like 3 frames of palm trees, and I just couldn't get it right. The palm tree leaves back in the wind. But this is the way to do sort of scene 3D. And then the quality of the graphics, well, everybody knows what's it doing.
As a Spectrum programmer, were you very aware of what other companies, other Spectrum programmers were doing, and were you trying to work out where you were in the league table?
I don't think so. I just wanted to. I didn't sort of say, I want to beat him. I just wanted to be the best I could. And if it wasn't good enough, then so be it.
And John, why should the Specky win this vote?
Why should it win? It's more a case of why should the 64 not win it?
Fighting talk.
Because the 64 has got chunky graphics. Okay, it's got high resolution, but most of the games are chunky graphics. The machine costs a lot of money. It's got a Mickey Mouse processor. What more than that?
It's gone for trash talk. I didn't see that coming at all. Thank you very much, and I'm going to go straight over now to Andy Walker, on that bombshell. He's slagging off your chosen machine. Andy, your background was arcade games. Probably your most famous one was the Pit program released through Century. When did you first become aware of this micro, the Commodore 64?
Commodore 64 was coming whether I knew it was or not. You get advertised everywhere, and it was an arcade piece, probably arcade. It wasn't meant for doing your homework on, was it?
We get the trash talk back in the way. I like that. You set up Tasset in 1983. However, the first game you produced was not for the Commodore 64, it was for the Oric. At what point did you realise you'd made an epic fail?
Not the first one. days, it was the same guys, wasn't it, that made it, was it? I really enjoyed the Tangerine machine, great 6502 piece, had a great tangle in it, and now they've brought an Oracle. We'll get one and we'll be first to the market. Hooray!
It didn't quite work out like that. Now, once you did choose to focus on the Commodore 64, there was a range of other micros you could have programmed for. I wonder what convinced you to solely focus on that machine.
It was what's built into the Commodore. You could see, I dabbled with the VIC-20 very quickly. Straight on its heels, the 64 was coming to this side of the Atlantic. It had all the hardware in it that we wanted. We looked at it, it must have been made by people who like games. That's where they were coming from. They weren't coming at it from a word process. They wanted games, they put the hardware in it. That suited us fine.
And of course, we know when it comes to the game you've chosen. You've chosen Super Pipeline 2, obviously a sequel to the first one, which came out in 1983. Andy, why have you chosen this game to represent your work?
This was the one that, because it wasn't released, the team of lads had a task set, and it made us laugh. It made us laugh when we were talking about what should happen, when we were sitting around just, try a lot of code. Some of it works and some of it doesn't. And then you get another little worker and you tag it on the end and suddenly it's funny. And things happen that are funny. So that's the funniest game that we've done. That's why I wanted it.
Whilst there's a little bit of sniping from John Gibson over here about the chunky spikes of the Commodore 64, you really seem to have embraced that. The characters you put in your games are very distinctive, that big nose and that. Were you trying to create a kind of brand for Task Set? Were you trying to create a kind of brand for Task Set?
No, it was, Task Set was, because it was a group of people, and we had Andy Gibson as well, there were great artists for it. We also had Paul Hudson, great on sound as well. And when I said the 64 had all the bits in it, both, all the sprite handling, all the character mapping, all the scrolling, and all the sound. What more could we want to do?
Now, we're going to come to the game that you actually chose to represent you. And I think there's a little bit of Commodore 64 bonding going on over here, because you've actually chosen one of Jet's games. You've chosen Attack of the Mutant Hammers. Why have you picked this particular one?
Oh, what a great game. I chose it before I knew he was there.
That is true, I can verify.
This was one where, I don't know if you call it hysteresis or whatever, but overshoot, where the control doesn't go left when you say left, it goes left when it damn well gets ready to go left. And that's absolutely great. It catches you up as you get there and goes left, 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 left. What a great introduction to the way that games should play, with a bit more feeling in it. That's why I chose this one. It had all feeling in it.
Nice one. I wondered, whilst obviously now you're sitting together on the same side, I wondered if back in the day there's a little bit of rivalry between you, both software houses focusing on the 64. Was there a little bit of, I'm going to make sure our game's better than the next one on the software?
I would have been really pleased if anybody else had seen our games. You were never trying. You obviously weren't trying to beat somebody. You just wanted to be published. When you get published, it's really quite nice. And then somebody else buys another game and you think, that's pretty good too. And that's everything we wanted to do. But I did want to have a photo shoot done with llamas in the background.
I think that was a little homage, wasn't it?
It was.
And Andy, why should the Commodore 64 win today's vote? Why should the Commodore 64 win today's vote?
It's a gamer's machine, and it's not a game that you ever write a word processor for. You should never worry about the crapness of its basic program. You should just worry about how you can get more out of the terrific chips that are in it for the next game, because that's what it's about.
you very much, Andy. Okay, I'm going back over to the rainbow corner and sitting next to me is Ste Pickford. Ste, can you tell us when you first heard about Sinclair's new machine, the Spectrum?
No.
It's a blur.
I can remember hearing about the ZX81, kind of carry on from there. We had the ZX81 at home, so...
Is it true that you used to have a jar in the kitchen marked John Pickford, his brother's John Spectrum phone? Is that true?
It was in the living room, not the kitchen. So,
Close, bit tense.
yeah, it was, we wanted a Spectrum, my brother wanted a Spectrum for his Christmas present. It was too expensive, so he was kind of, you know, he had a jar, pennies in, 10 pennies in, and yeah, he wouldn't have been able to afford a 64, of course, but at least had a shot at getting the Spectrum. And I don't know how much he saved, or maybe like £20 or something over the course of the year, but he wouldn't have put the best on the Spectrum.
Like your parents. Now, of course, your expertise is on the graphics side. At what point did you realise you could transfer your skills on paper into pixels?
I used to do it all the time, but my brother kind of blocked me from working with him. He was writing games, and he was doing his own graphics. And I was also doing graphics myself, drawing them. But he wouldn't let me join in with him making the game because he thought I was cheating if anybody else joined in. So he was writing games on his Spectrum, and I was copying adverts. And I go down the game and see the adverts, and I would like copy them as loading screens, made up loading screens. I don't think you can even save them, so I spent an evening like drawing a picture on the Spectrum, and that's it.
There's lost masterpieces.
Yeah.
I understand that you possibly had the best work experience at school ever, didn't you? Because did you manage to actually work at binary design as part of your school work experience?
Yeah, again, it's a place where my brother worked, so I went from my work experience game development studio, you know, just going to be making cups of tea and coffee. And they put me in front of a computer and said, could you do a loading screen for that? Could you do another one for this other game that's coming out? And then I did. Then at the end of the week, could you call them the school and stay for another week? We've got another game that needs a loading screen. They probably 50 quid at the end of it. So.
That was a lot of money back then, actually.
It was, yeah. Apparently I had a bit of an argument with the accountants that worked out how to do it.
Paying a 15-year-old boy 50 quid. I wonder how they put that through the books. Anyway, now, you're quite well known for teaming up with your brother, and I think the first game you did together was Zub. I think I've got that right. What was it like? So at this point you were living, I think you were probably still sharing a bedroom.
We were sharing book beds.
Who was on top?
He was.
Okay. Did you sort of live and breathe games then? If you worked together, was it a bit too much?
We did actually, we went to work, we did games, we go off, watched telly, looked at that Channel 4 films, we had Triangle in the corner.
Did you ever fight?
Yeah, until I moved out, and then we got in fights.
Okay, we're going to go to the game you chose, which we believe is called Amarote. If someone wants to correct us, see us later. And why were you especially pleased with this, Steve?
Well, the reason I chose this game, I'm not sure, I would have chosen any of my games, but the reason I chose this one, because we developed this game in a team with, a Spectrum version, an Abstract version, and a Commodore 64 version. And I thought this was a great example, because the Commodore 64 version couldn't be done, and we had to do a completely different game. So we could make this high Spectrum game, whether it's good or bad, that's the game we made. When it came to do the C64 version, it's like, well, we can't do that with C64. All we can do is scrolling with sprites. So we just change it so it's overhead, scrolling, and sprites. That's all you can do on the C64, variations of that. And I think that's what I like about the Spectrum, that you can do whatever you remember, you can do. I mean, you could probably do it quite slowly, but the machines is like a blank canvas where you can, as a designer, you can scratch your head and come up with some idea and implement it one way or another. Whereas Commodore 64 kind of led you into doing only certain types of games. It was scrolling screen for sprites on, and this wasn't exactly a scrolling screen for sprites on. It had front and behind each other. The Commodore 64 program would go, no, you can't really do that.
So do you think you chose this program because it shows a technical achievement as well as a graphic
No, I'm not
achievement?
saying it's particularly a technical achievement. You know, Nightmare came before. Nightmare is an incredible technical achievement. They invented about 6 techniques for that game, and you know, really we were just copying this. But it's an illustration that the Spectrum is a really flexible machine and a machine that encourages creativity, I think. And when it came to the 64 version, it was sort of like, can't we just go back to what we know and make it form something else?
Interesting point there. We're going to come to the game that you chose by someone else to show off your chosen machine, and it's TLL from 1984. So first of all, why did you choose this particular game?
Again, it's just a really strange odd game. That it's not so much that it's a brilliant game, or if it is, I really enjoyed it. It's just that it's not like anything else. This is a case of the developer thought of a mad idea, a mad way of representing the world, a mad way of representing 3D before we had computers, and implemented it. And wow, you know, you can see it. It takes a little bit of imagination on your part, you know, on there, but oh, it's just 3D work, you know, when you go behind things and other things. And I think that's what I love about Spectrum games, or the best Spectrum games are often really different and really odd, and have unusual perspectives and unusual ways of representing the world. Like TLO is, it looks like anything else, and it's good, you know, it's special. So it's a representative game Spectrum because it's got some uniqueness about it.
I'm interested because when in the pages of Retro Gamer there was this similar debate, what's better, the 64 or the Spectrum, and one of the arguments you made for the Spectrum is that it was hard to program for, so therefore it attracted more talented coders. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Yeah, I mean, the best, the great programs all about the best 64 programs in ages anyway. But to get anything on the Spectrum, you had to have a pretty high level of competency. If you weren't sort of above 60% competency, you couldn't get anything moving on the screen. Whereas it was at least possible to get a scrolling screen and some sprites moving about on the 64 with basically no knowledge or competency at all. And because of that, you ended up with quite a few people getting jobs as C64 programmers who weren't really that good. So in a sort of studio environment, you had all the Spectrum programmers were pretty much borderline geniuses. But only 50% of the C64 ones were.
We got 50% on this side.
The good guys are still good. But it's, when you were in a studio making games on a machine, it was like pop up with a C64 programmer. What day it was.
Thank you. So, your chance now. Why should the Spectrum get the audience's vote?
I think the Spectrum, it's a British machine for starters, so you've got the loyalty there, but I think it was a lovely machine that really encouraged creativity, which I think the British developers that's who we've been best at. I think the best analogy is the Spectrum was like a blank page in a sketchbook. You could do anything on it. You could make a work of art, or you could make a piece of crap, but it was a blank page, you could do anything. The Commodore 64 is more like a page in a colouring book. And you only had 16 shades of brown for your felt tips.
Thank you very much. Well, Jeff. Okay, I'm moving over to Jeff Minter now, our final expert witness. And Jeff, I'm actually going to start with the game that you chose. You're well known for producing shoot 'em ups with lots of hairy creatures in, but you've chosen to represent your work Hoverbomber, which involves a bloke mowing his lawn. Now, first of all, why have you picked this game?
Well, I've got particularly fond memories of that game.
got designed by accident almost. I'd gone up with my family to attend a computer show in Gremlin, and we were staying in like a posh person's house, and it wasn't, obviously we weren't invited, but we had to pack. But we were staying in this lovely house with lovely grounds, and had a ground stand. We got to see how the posh people were for a while. It was really nice. And each morning we come down as part of the bed and breakfast room, so we had a lovely breakfast. And I remember sitting there with the mum and my dad, one of my brothers, and we were looking out the window, eating a lovely Philippines breakfast, big piles of scrambled eggs, not too much scrambled egg. And you could see the grounds from outside, behind the lawn. My dad loved gaming. I got him into gaming by introducing me to the Atari VCS when I was still at university. It was too old to get into it, but I remember I gave him the joystick when I first saw the Atari VCS and didn't go back for 5 hours. And then he was an avid gamer and he was very much like the non-stop. So we looked out at the sea and I started saying, I think we can make a game about this. We just took this idea back and forth, and we had the idea, yeah, you can borrow your neighbour's mower, or pick up on the cracks, and you could be chasing you, and I could say, yeah, you have a stupid dog that you could chase you around, and then he said, yeah, you could come on to send the dog off the neighbour. So this whole very sort of British Terrier Retriever style comedy idea just arose between the two of us. And it was all designed within 5 minutes. And started folding it up. And I liked it because the other games I went up to that would be quite fun. But the humour in this is very British. British sitcom slapstick comedy, which I think went down very well. And also, it was the first game where I really started to use the Commodore 64 as an excellent sound capability. I had a friend when I was growing up who was a piano prodigy. I mean, at age 7, he was playing all the piano for the music school or something to academic Texas. And he was going to the Royal College of Music. And so I got him to do an arrangement, in this special album for him, which was absolutely lovely. He really done very nice and singing it very well. And it was my first year. It opened my eyes to the potential of this wonderful machine. And I wrote the code to put this tune for him, and playing it through, it just sounded absolutely amazing. It fit this singing slapstick action game really well.
Yeah, let's take it back. Can you recall the first time you saw a Commodore 64 and what were your first impressions?
Well, the first time I actually saw one was at a computer show in London, and it was owned by Rabbit Software, who were great rivals when I was under 20. So my first reaction was jealousy. I was like, oh, how did they get one of those? I haven't got one yet, and they've got a head start on me now. But then fortunately, American visitors to the show was a guy called Jay Barrett-Christian, who was publishing our Big 20 software in the US. And he stopped by the Amazon stand and said, oh Jeff, if you want to stop by my hotel room later, I've got a little something for you. And I was like, okay. But went back there, and then he got me a US Commodore 64. And I took it home that night. I remember we had to stop in London to buy a multi-standard monitor, which was a DTSC. So we took this thing home, and stepped down transformer, multi-standard monitor, and started to learn my way around it, and I was very impressed that England Basic, the next basic was shit. But England Basic, we were able to get a decent sound, reasonable graphics, moving fairly quickly, without having to tear your hair out. It was really quite an eye-opening thing to see how capable this machine was, even on the first night when I sat down with it.
You were incredibly prolific on the Commodore 64. By my count, you did 14 games in 5 years. I think starting with Rocks and finishing with Return of the Mutant Camels in '87. I wondered if you look back on those 5 years as something of a golden time in your long career.
Yeah, it was just a lovely time really, because I enjoyed doing lots of games. Is great fun, but there's no project that gets so long that it becomes frustrating and boring or something that you're tired of. You quickly move on to doing something else. You could try out lots of different ideas. Plus, I mean, life was just good back then. A lot of stuff was doing well. We really enjoyed going to the computer shows. We did 4 or 5 computer shows a year. they were always a fantastic social event. We had large officers who came to every show, we always hang out, go to the planetarium, see the Pickford laser show, and every summer I'd go on holiday with my mates. And it was just a particularly childhood time in my life, I think, where everything was going well, I was really enjoying the work I was doing.
Everything's better in the 80s, wasn't it? I'm very interested because, as a member of this panel, you have programmed Spectrum games. You have programmed for the other side. I think you did Headbangers Ever, and I think a version of Rocks. And I just wondered why you ended up opting for the 64 over the Spectrum. Do you think your career would have been very different if you'd stayed with the Spectrum?
I was in the Super Defense as well, let's not forget that masterpiece. No, I think, having come there from the VIC-20, I think it was because basically I was a Commodore right from the moment when I learned on a Commodore pen. So I was into the Commodore machines right at the start. When the VIC-20 came out, I wanted a Commodore machine of my own because I like the architecture, I like the 6502, I knew how to code it well. And it was more to do with that. And also I had my contacts in the US, I was selling some games in the US, and so there was the opportunity for the console to be able to sell support games in the US, where the Commodore, of course, was well established and the Spectrum was unknown. It wasn't really going to any distaste with the Spectrum, it was just, I was just one guy and I could only focus on doing so much myself at one time. So the Commodore on the one out of that one.
Thank you very much. We're now going to go to the game that you've chosen to represent the Commodore 64, not by you. We've gone, I think, a little bit obscure. It is a very good game. Called Space Taxi from 1984 by John Gibson. Why did you opt for this one, Jeff?
Well, I think it shows one of the threads that comes through the Commodore 64 is that it's not about the technical prowess of the machine, but it's very nice to have a technical machine. The one thing that shone through in most Commodore 64 games, many Commodore 64 games, is the playability. And this game was just an absolutely superb player and thrust style arcade game. Most people never know what this came from America. It was excellent because it came on discs and it played almost as fast as the tape. And it was just, so 13 levels, it was really, really challenging. It had its own really simplistic but very effective graphical style. And it was just wonderful to play. I love it to death.
Thank you, Jeff. Now, Jeff, you produced some iOS games over the last few years, which some of them have given a nod to your past. I noticed one called 5 a Day actually had like the Commodore 64 font in. You're still producing games now, featuring the Oculus Rift. Could you ever see yourself revisiting one of your Commodore 64 titles, and which one might it be?
Perhaps, I think maybe I would love to do a revisitation of Hotball one day. I love it so much.
Hotball on the Oculus Rift.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
I mean, you could be there with your flyby in virtual reality and have fantastic platform. Virtual ball. Excellent.
And Jeff, why should the Commodore 64 win today?
I think one of the main things that I really grateful for about the Commodore 64 design is that it really wasn't very good at isometric games. Those isometric games were absolutely terrible. I mean, they were such a triumph of technical achievement over playability. I mean, you had all the control finesse of Cubit. And they all looked the same. It was all the same four doors and the same you spent half the time just trying to walk through the doors and put the line on top and couldn't see where anything was in actual 3D space. They looked kind of interesting, but they were absolutely awful to play. And then once Oxford came out, everybody copied it. The damn thing spread like Ebola. For 2 years, you could not move on the Spectrum except for this shitty, bloody, isometric games. And thank God we never had those. Thank you, Colin. Thank you.
Well, I'm surprised how much trash talking has actually gone on today. Go on, Steve.
You did point out that Jeff had been on the Spectrum as well. So
not an isometric game, in his defence.
For fairness, I have to point out I also did graphics on the C64. But I went ground line.
See what you did there. Ladies and gentlemen, before I open up the floor, should I have a round of applause for our 4 experts? Okay, I think we have got a roving mic, is that right? Okay. Right, ladies and gentlemen, now there's plenty of time now for you to ask a question to all four of our panellists, ask a specific question to one of them, or, within reason, if you want a drunken rant about why your chosen machine should win, we'll say yes for now, and then we'll decide whether we decide that was a crap idea, okay? The only thing I would ask is that can you indicate you want to talk by lifting up your voting card, and can you put which vote you're thinking of, so that I'm not accused of bias, I pick a selection of 64 and Spectrum question askers. So if you would like to ask a question, can you stick up your hand holding your card? Thank you. We've got some over here. There's a Speccy, is that right? Okay. So we take on one Spectrum. What is your question, sir?
It's very simple, very concise, 3 words. Carrier command. Discuss.
Okay, that's it. You know when we arranged this, so people have been drinking all day. This is it. Okay, carrier command discuss. Who would like to take that question? Help.
It was an excellent Atari ST.
So is your point that the Atari ST is better than all these? So your point is the Spectrum couldn't do it, the Commodore could? The Spectrum could do it, and the Commodore could.
Brilliant Spectrum game, remember it well.
Alright, that's one, okay. Anybody else like to ask a question, if you can stick up your card. And that is a Commodore 64, so I think we're keeping the balance right there. Yes, sir.
So far, Jeff has mentioned the sound. Could anybody defend the Spectrum sound?
So we'll definitely over to this side of the room here. So can you defend the Spectrum's sound?
No. Commodore wins there, Commodore wins.
I'm very magnanimous of you. Does anyone say how much they love the C-chip? Does anyone like it?
There is a really good SID music society still going now. And the same is not quite so true for Spectrum. But they're out there and making music and they're having fun on that chip right now. That's how big it is, how many years on.
Any more questions which you respect you on? And it is a specific question over here, please.
On the Spectrum, we have original games like School Days and Night Law. On the Commodore, we have like Empire Strikes Back, or using camels, like this games. And Lunar Lander. Were there any original games, decent ones on the Commodore?
Oh, okay. So this young wag, this Spectrum wag, he's saying, was there really the same kind of originality on the Commodore 64 as the Spectrum? So boys, do you want to defend it?
I think absolutely is. I think you're just going to look at the likes of this man right here to see some of the originality that you have in those about. Yeah, we're going about making way home pissing from the pub. I mean, how excellent that. All this stuff was really funny. These guys make you laugh. I'm really good.
Games that make you laugh. There you go. Take that. Okay. Right. Thank you. We've got time for a few more questions. So anyone? I'll take another Speccy on. And 2 Speccy ones there. Okay. So there's any Commodore 64 people please stick on. Yes, sir.
Color Clash. A bad thing or something that inspires creativity?
Oh, there you go. You see, it's right back at you. Color Clash. Was it shit or did it inspire creativity? I think that was the gist of your question, wasn't it?
I suppose it was a challenge, definitely a challenge. But I will say that most people I've spoken to, they prefer the high resolution graphics on the Spectrum. They really put up the character rather than the country rubbish you get on the Commodore 64.
The dirty rubbish you got on the 64. Okay,
Country rubbish, country.
Steve, do you want to answer that since you're graphics? He looks like he's answered that one. Okay, go again with the Speccy person there. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to stick up for the C64 Spectrum sound and just mention the 2 binary design games. Zub and Light Rider. Fantastic sound. Love it.
So
Thanks very much. I didn't need the sound though.
take the planets where they come. But, thank you very much. Okay, could you encourage anyone who's at the game for the 64? Yay! So, I've got that roving line just over there. It's doing a good job, it's just this chap over here. It's there.
Hi. Over the years, there have many games that came out for both of them actually the same game of Expo on the 64 Vs Speccy. Most of the time, on the 64 was constant graphic, sound, everything. What was the reason for that?
I'm so sorry. That sounded a passionate advocacy, and I don't think we got very much of that. Can you encapsulate what that question was? I'm really sorry.
Yeah, what Expo said was that a lot of titles came out on both the Spectrum and the 64. The 64 was better graphics. Why?
Okay, I think we can take both sides there. So first, many games came out on both systems, but graphically, these arguing that Commodore is winning. So you should have a defence and a support. So can you defend the Speccy graphically?
Just on the previous question, it's harder than you have to not function. Well, as far as the impression is concerned.
What's it?
I think all the games I worked on were way better on the Spectrum. Squash, stretch, round.
Murky blur squash, Mr. Brown. That sounds. Oh no, no, no.
Were made specifically by those chips that were made by people who would put on the board knowing what they were doing creating graphics. It wasn't a blank sheet of paper, it wasn't an empty canvas. You could write great names on empty canvas, but that's not what they were doing. They created graphics chips specifically for that purpose. They knew they needed sprites, they knew they needed scrolling back. That's why they designed the chips. They put them on the board along with a great sound system. For that purpose, to make games that people would play.
Yeah.
And also, I think one reason for Commodore was better is that you simply to work as a programmer, you could fight against a system that hated you and was trying to resist your every effort to move stuff around the screen. And on the Spectrum, you often saw scrolling those where they had a massive bloody ball around the other street. They simply did not have enough drums to move stuff around. With that limitation of room, you could actually get creative to move things properly.
A little bit of bordering over here. Okay, I've got Speccy and Commodore 64. That's a nice balance.
Right, so I've got a question similar to the other questions before, but it goes to arcade conversions. Two of my favourite arcade conversions, I think personally, are better on the ZX Spectrum, and those two arcade conversions are R-Type and Chase HQ. I'd like your opinions on those, please.
Okay, do you want to take that forward? He said the arcade conversions of R-Type and Chase HQ clearly superior on your machine.
R-Type, definitely, wonderful game. Then on the scroll, it's so good at define the time.
Do you want to do any defense on that? They're conceding on that particular point.
What I would say is that basically there is also the factor of the quality of the programmers involved. I mean, it's not that the Spectrum is a superior machine, you have a better version of R-Type, which is an excellent program working on R-Type, but the Commodore Pressure a slightly more rubbish program. It's no professional Commodore 64. It's still obviously a very good.
There you go. And we have a Commodore 64 question just here, please.
It was just a point about quality of the build. We've got a proper keyboard against a rubber keyboard. Splash-proof, is that the same one?
I'm a little bit concerned you're worried about a splash-proof keyboard. Clearly you play Sandbox Poker a little bit too much. Okay, but over here, right, you're going to have to defend the zombie flesh keyboard.
Even though it's a great keyboard, the time for it, it's always really well, you can't play games on the Commodore 64 keyboard. The joysticks are really horrible. The Spectrum keyboard, I think it's a prototype for the LES controller. That method of controlling games is far superior to the joystick. It's a very easy method.
game. So joystick is what you have on a sensible machine, like the Commodore 64.
I think I've got a special question there, please.
Hello. This is really from the Commodore because I was going to so do you think that games nowadays are a lot crappier because it's mostly first-person shooters?
Can I just ask, how old are you?
40.
40. First of all, welcome, good man. Know your roots, man, know your roots. Very good. Okay, well, I think that's really to all of you, chaps. Is that are games crappier now than they used to be? So, shall we go along the path?
Well,
are things crappier now than they used to be?
Games aren't crappier. The games that you love are the ones that you're buying. They're the ones that are not crappier at all. And as long as people make games that people want to play, then the good ones will come to the top because you won't buy the rubbish ones anyway. Obviously you'll play them on retro, you'll play them all on C64 or simulators, because they're just better.
He's managed to get in another plug for his machine. So I'll go Jeff and then back to you, John.
Well, I think the modern games aren't as good as old ones because they concentrate too much on the presentation. I mean, I'm still programming on the PS4, which is pretty difficult technology. All the concentration is on the they don't want to do that.
Can I just add that John, of course, does program games for the PS4, don't you? You just enjoy the club, is that right? Excellent, so there you go. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go to Jeff.
Well, I would say certainly a lot of the large sort of AAA budget games can appear to be quite homogeneous. I mean, the reason for that is not because games themselves are really well, it's because it's much more risky to work on the environment. So perhaps publishers feel that they want to take the risk of a little more out of their stuff. But we also have a thriving indie scene and emergence of things like the Oculus Rift, which is provided a lot of creativity, so there is a lot of new fresh talent coming through, plus some of us bored old folks are still trying to do it our way after all these years. The fun is still there, it's just a question of finding what kind of fun we want to have.
And Steve, again, still in the games industry, so you're in a good position to answer this.
I think a lot of games are like that. I think you just remember the good ones, and some wonderful games back there, they were closer to the track, closer to the road playable, and I think, everybody sat here, we've all got better and better and better at making games, and I think we make better games than we used to. I think games are better now.
We've got time for two more questions. So I've got one here, one there. I think we'll have to. Okay, we'll have to the answer. So yes, just here, please. And then.
Last Ninja 2. That's on the Commodore 64 or Spectrum.
So this is Last Ninja 2. Very specific question.
This one's going to what Steve was saying before. And people type all those questions. And also what I was saying about the look. Kind of very like that. The kind of evolution, very responsive to the accuracy and creativity. And I think the stuff is really interesting.
Can either of you defend that?
I would say that one actually got on the Commodore 64. It's one of the few isolation titles that actually do look really good. It actually had a decent amount of colour in the background. It had a good artist. I mean, typically Commodore you have to work to its strengths. And I think that's an example of where it actually needs a lot better on the Commodore than it does on the Spectrum.
There you go. I've got two more. I've got one gentleman just over there, and then someone.
Hey, I don't know if the 64 was better than the Spectrum, but I'd like to know which one Jeff preferred, the 64 or the Atari 800.
Jeff, did you prefer the Commodore 64 or the Atari 800?
That's actually quite a tricky choice. I did like the Atari 800 very much. One of the things I liked most about it was the amount of colour you had, so you didn't have any of the murky colour limitations of the Commodore, and the extremely flexible control you had over the screen through displaying features. It was slightly disappointing in terms of its sprites, which were interesting when the height of the whole screen were only 8 inches wide. So in terms of moving objects around, it wasn't quite as capable as Commodore 64, but I did love the colour and I did several arcade game conversions into it, and I do absolutely love games like Star Raiders, which I still believe in the best games of all time. But in terms of the machine to work on, I think I prefer the Commodore because I could get more action out of it. Yeah, Atari, I really enjoyed for the license there, the colour space, and that was lovely. But the games I prefer the Commodore.
Okay, and our final question from the audience is from a chap who should know. This is Carl Hornell, who's come all the way from Norway, Sweden. I've got an interview you, I should know that. He's come all the way from Sweden and used to make games for his set of micros player label. Carl, over to you.
Thank you. Obviously, there are some spectrum games that have been ported pixel for pixel to C64. So it's a technical question. Exactly what was it that you could do on the C64 that you put on the spectrum? What did you do?
Yeah, well, I worked on one of those games, Rider Rider, which was done exactly the same way on the C64. And the big thing was, when you worked on the C64 in the same way as you did on the Spectrum or the Amstrad, it just didn't have any processing power. It was just too slow. In the C64 relied on using hardware sprites and scroll registers. And if it was only really happy scrolling the sprites, we could try to do anything else, which would be say a pixel or a Spectrum game. And it was really to do it.
Well, we'll finish with some grunts from all of our panelists. So, chaps, this is your final chance to advocate for your machine. So, John.
I'll repeat what I said about the high resolution graphics. I also mentioned the fact that the Commodore 64 was way more expensive than the Spectrum.
That's a financial argument.
And also, those who really realise that you need a special technical for the Commodore 64, including that for the Spectrum. But the most convincing argument against the C64 is giving it a lot more capable.
So we're there. Thank you. Steve.
I think my main argument is that the Spectrum really encouraged inventiveness, creativity and high level of competence amongst developers, and I think it spawned a really great generation of video game developers who are still going now, a lot of them, and a lot of them are just really smart guys, because the Spectrum forced you to be, you had to be clever to do anything, and it was kind of filtered all of that really clever guys to do into game development, and see the rewards of that now.
Thank you. Andy.
Yeah, you're right. Lots of developers from those days that are still around and going strong and good. But whether you're on 6502 or 6510 or 1080, if you're making games for people, you want to make them on the best machine. The machine itself was just far superior. It was made as a gamer's machine. It was never blank. It was always fun to be played.
Thank you very much. And finally, Jeff.
I certainly can't doubt that there are a lot of type of programs that was on the Spectrum, because we had to be to get anything out of this machine that was fighting all the way. But on the Commodore, you weren't fighting all the time. You actually had the freedom and creativity to do things like make music and actually implement decent gameplay. And so we were able to concentrate on making decent, proper arcade style games and not just fighting to get things moving on the screen. It was simply a better machines and game design to be working with.
Okay, right, it's that time. It's just coming up to 6 o'clock. So, what we'd like to do now, are you counting your Commodore 64? You doing Speccy? Okay, so, right, you're going to have to keep your votes up for quite a long time. Okay, so, you all right? Okay, that's just that Scottish referendum. I should have done it like this. Okay. So now, on the count of 3, okay, I would like you, in true ready, steady, cook fashion, to hold up your chosen machine, the Speccy or the Commodore 64. I'm going to take a photo, so I think it'll look really cool. Right? And hopefully my chaps who are going to count, please want to come over and whisper, not on the mic, whisper the results so I can really drag it out like the Expo. Okay? Thank you very much. Okay, and vote now. Before we reveal, I'll drag it outside a bit, can I do some thank yous? First of all, to Martin Carroll, he's a specky twat, I'm a commie bastard, which just shows that love can conquer all divides. I'd also like to say thank you to the wonderful Play Expo team, all the technical people here, and as well as Gordon and Dave and Matt and all the people that are involved with organising it. And thanks to Darren, our editor, for giving us work. And also I'd like to say thanks to Frank and Vinny and Merman and Kieran and all the people in the retro game community that support us all the time. So a lot of them are in the audience, so thank you very much. And I suppose thank you for taking part, and perhaps most of all, thank you for our expert witnesses for presenting their cases. One final round of applause for our lovely panelists. The votes are in. It's been a very democratic process, and actually quite remarkably, it's been a dead heat. So why don't we come back in 10 years' time and do this all again? Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Take care. Bye.